And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, the first episode of the new year of Inappropriate Characters. This is the RPG Pundit, the final boss and internet shitlords. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Venger Satanis and Joe Bittman. And today, well, we've got a few important things to talk about. We're going to definitely be covering some of the new material for 5th edition. Hey, can everyone hear us, by the way? You guys listening?
You guys hearing me?
Let's see if they can hear us. Answer in the chat if you can hear us.
You guys look so confused.
Hello, can you hear us?
I think they can hear us. Yeah, okay, they can hear us. Great. We always have to check. It's never going to end. You know, we're going to have done this show for 20 years, and we're still going to be like, can you hear us over there? We won't be able to hear ourselves at that point, but
yeah, it's on a delay, so that's why.
Yeah. Anyway,
like I haven't heard you yet.
We're going to be talking about the new 5th edition stuff, but and apparently Benja's got a surprise for us of some kind. I don't know what it is. But the first thing we want to talk about is that with the new year, our tech guy, Job, has got some big new ideas and some new plans. There's going to be some changes around here, which I think are in part to expand our reach, but also to give us some security in these troubled times of censorship. So, Job, do you want to explain it to us and to the audience? Anytime you want, Job. Have we lost Job?
Quite possibly.
All right.
Job, you there?
That's a bit of a problem, given that he's our tech guy.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, well, apparently, I don't know what the hell is going on with Job here.
So basically, we're going to put the show on other platforms. I mean,
that's right. Well,
I don't know if you guys can hear us or can hear Job in the chat.
I can hear you, Job. Can you hear me? Jesus Christ. Job? All right. Look, I guess I'll have to do the talking then. Anyway, I'm not as aware of all the changes that
I think you guys can hear
me.
me. I just can't hear you. So just carry on. I'll join in as soon as I can hear you guys.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We can hear you, but okay.
Yeah, apparently Job can't hear the two of us. That's funny. Comments from the live chat. Dark Knight of Hibernia says, God damn it, the boomerism is strong.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm not sure if I feel like, I think I'm more a great generation type of tech guy, right? Like, I just can't take anything that's technology. I had to set up my new router the other day. Thank God I had Bill the Elf there to help. I wouldn't have had a clue how to even begin, right? I was just going nuts. It's why do they make these things so difficult? Anyway, as far as I can understand it, and Job maybe will later be able to jump in and correct me if he can end up hearing me. I guess we'll communicate with him via live chat until then. We're still going to be on this channel, obviously. And we are also going to be now on Twitch. In fact, this episode is being simultaneously, according to what Job said just before we lost contact with him, it's going to be simultaneously cast on our new Twitch channel as well. I presume eventually we'll have links to that somewhere if we don't already have them. I'm not sure if they're not on the description right now. But at some point we're going to put in the locations of our alternative channels on the description. So we're going to have a Twitch channel that's also going to be doing these live streams, and we're also going to upload these videos to BitChute. I don't know if there's any other places planned, but we're at the very least going to be on all 3 of those locations at the same time. And I know that I think the idea is that Twitch and YouTube are going to be a simulcast. So we're doing that. And this is, like I said, it's going to be to diversify us to other apps or what have you, other channels where some people who don't come here might go over there. But it's also mainly because, we're really expecting that over the course of the next 4 years, there might not be any conservatives left on any of the big tech channels, So I guess we'll see how that goes. In any case, some more comments from the audience here. Have you tried unplugging Job and plugging him back in again? Yeah, that might help. Someone else says, I'm a millennial in the body of a boomer. Yeah, well, I'm Gen X. I think all 3 of us are Gen X people. We're not actually, none of us are boomers, but there we are. So we're somehow, of the 3 of us, there's only one of us who has the slightest ability in technological stuff, which is Job. And
Okay.
apparently,
I worked around
you
it.
can hear us again? All right. So Job, I was just telling everyone about how we have a Twitch channel now, and that this is in fact being simulcast, and that we're also having a BitChute channel. Is there anything else that I missed from there? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Apparently not.
More technical difficulties.
Benjer, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you, yeah.
All right, you guys can hear me.
Can...
You guys can hear me now.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, there's something wrong with my audio out. I can't hear it, so I worked around it by dialing in on my phone to be able to hear you guys. I'm still talking over my microphone right here. So I'm hearing like a weird echo, but I'll just deal with it for today. Sorry about that, guys.
So did you hear what I said about what what I've already told the audience?
Yeah, we're on Twitch right now. We're uploading. We have an account on Rumble. Nothing's uploaded. BitChute, we've got about 5 episodes up, but I'm gonna mirror everything over though, and we'll see if anyone's got a favorite streaming platform they think we should add. Go ahead and let us know.
Excellent. And you're going to put links to all of these channels eventually on our description or something?
Yeah, I will. We're pretty easy to find on Twitch. It's just twitch.tv/inappropriate characters.
There you go. Twitch.tv/inappropriate characters. Even I can get that one right. So the idea is we're going to be staying on YouTube, of course. Like our videos are still going to be on YouTube, but are live episodes still going to be airing live on YouTube?
They are, yeah.
Okay. So
in essence, my video is disappeared, by the way. I don't know if that. I see it in a little tiny corner, the upper left corner.
Okay, yeah, I'll fix it. Just take
okay. Just FYI.
For those of you who are happy watching us on YouTube, nothing is really going to change, in other words. But if you'd rather watch us on some of those other channels, you will now also have that option. At least nothing's going to change for the YouTube people until such time as we get banned from YouTube, which, I always, I hope it doesn't happen, but I always assume that it's almost, an inevitability at this point, given the way that the US as a whole and big media is going. So,
yeah. And are you guys all staying on Twitter, or we got some people asking in the chat where we're going to Gab, or I had a Parler account, but I guess it's toast now.
Well, I was on Parler and was doing quite well there. Had a lot of followers very quickly, and I was finding a lot of good response from people when I posted there. My hope is that Parler will somehow be able to come back. I tried Gab a few years ago, back when it was still available for download on Google Play and stuff like that. And I found that the app was not very useful, and I found that it didn't seem to have a lot of good response for me, because I wanted to post about my gaming stuff there, and it seemed like all it ever was politics, right? I used a more right-wing version of politics than I cared for, so to say. But
I had the same experience. I joined Gab, and then every time I'd log in, I couldn't really recommend it to anybody because it was like, the Jews control the bank and white people wake up. And I was just like,
any place where I'm seeing anti-Semitism is pretty much a no for me, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for free speech. They need to figure out how to not put it on the front page.
Yeah, well, obviously there's anti-Semites everywhere, right? Like there's anti-Semites on Twitter, there's anti-Semites on YouTube, left-wing anti-Semites, right-wing anti-Semites, right? But it seemed like on Gab, I couldn't really get away from them, you know. On Twitter, I'll just ignore them, right? But
I'll try it again. Hopefully, it's better now.
Yeah, well, let me know. For me, meanwhile, I am on YouTube, obviously, and I've also got a BitChute channel. So if you are looking for another place to find my uploads, you can find me BitChute/channel/RPG Pundit. So you can go there. And then in terms of other social media besides Twitter, I am very active on MeWe, which is a great place to join if you're into RPGs, right? Like I don't even talk about politics there. It's all, you know, it's all gaming there. So I'm Kazimir Urbanski there. And if you join MeWe, look me up, send me a friend request, and check out all the groups. The MeWe groups for gaming are great. I especially recommend, of course, the Inglorious OSR, the Dark Albion Lion and Dragon group, and Dungeon Crawl Classics, all of which I'm very heavily involved with. So check those out. I'm also on Minds, but Minds it doesn't seem to be quite as good a signal in terms of, you know, posting stuff as you get from MeWe. How about you, Venger?
Oh, where you can find me? Yes, I'm on Twitter and Facebook a little bit. MeWe. I've got a Cortalis Publishing group there. If I publish anything or post anything like a blog post or a link to a review or something like that, I usually put it in all the groups I belong to, and especially in my own group. Where else? YouTube a little bit. I haven't made a non-inappropriate character video in a long time, maybe like before COVID. I don't know. It's been a long time. So not really on YouTube much. My blog, just go to Avengers Old School Gaming blog. You know, I try to put a blog post up maybe once a week, and that's where the hub is. All the news and what's going on with me and things I think of and products and sales, all that stuff.
Dark Knight of Hibernia says, Venger, I'm still trying to find your website because I want to order your Chult hardback books. Could you tell me? So where do people find your website for ordering your books?
Just Google Venger's Old School Gaming blog. It's got to be the first thing that comes up.
Venger's Old School Gaming blog. There you go, people.
If you want to email me, it's venger.satanis@yahoo.com.
Okay.
You send me an email. I'll respond. Or Twitter. That's good too.
There we go. All right. So I guess that's all of the news about our upcoming changes. So we'll see how all that goes for us, and we'll see how long we get to keep doing this on YouTube. I like YouTube. YouTube's worked really well for me, and I'm hoping I get to keep being on it for a while. But it's good to have alternative plans, obviously. All right. So the next subject, this is a very dangerous thing that I'm doing here, because, you know, you wouldn't let a toddler play with hand grenades unsupervised, right? Or at all, really. You know? And you normally wouldn't let Venger Satanis have a mystery topic without us having any idea what he wants to talk about. But I don't know why. I guess we're doing it. So this might be the moment where we get banned from YouTube, actually. Be ready for this. Might be historic, guys. All right, Venger, so you had a topic you wanted to bring up. None of us know what it is. Go ahead.
It's not so much a topic, but it's just sort of a little fun game that I came up with a little bit before the show. And as Pundit said, besides that little introduction, my co-hosts don't know anything about it. So I'm springing on them right now. And then afterwards, you guys can tell us if it's something you maybe want to see again, or if that was just a one and done. Okay. Doesn't matter who goes first. This is called 3 questions. I'm just going to ask you 3 questions. And then, of course, there's a bonus question after. So there's really 4 questions. But it's called 3 questions. So it's for both of you guys, and it doesn't matter what order you answer in. But you only have, like, I don't know, 3 seconds to answer.
I volunteer Job.
Okay. Well, yeah, whoever wants to go first can go first. If you need an extra couple seconds, you can let the other guy chime in first. Okay. Question number 1. Dumbest role-playing game?
Dumbest?
Yes.
It's going to have to be Chalt.
Fuck you. I knew you'd say that. And trick question, or trick answer, Chalt is not a role-playing game. Should have said Crimson Dragon Slayer. So that's minus 1,000 points for you.
Well, okay.
Crimson Dragon Player is pretty stupid, but if I'm going to be very honest, I think probably the World of Cinnabar.
Okay. And that's an actual role-playing game, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
A terrible one.
So that's plus 10 points for Pundit. So far he's winning. All right, question number 2. What is the dumbest implementation of Rule 0?
The dumbest implementation of Rule 0.
This is all subjective. It's not like there's one right.
0?
Like whatever you want to say.
What is Rule 0? I don't even know what that is.
The rule that the DM can change anything he wants.
Right.
Oh, wow. I never even heard of that.
It's a common term in the OSR, but okay.
Actually, they're talking about an N world too. Like, you know what made me think of that? That guy that wrote "Playing at the World." He just
John
did a
Peterson.
blog on Rule 0, and I was reading that, and then it's also an article on N world. Anyway,
See, Sadwig's raging. Hadn't heard of it either.
Oh, well, there you go. So for all of you who don't know, Rule 0 is the idea that the DM can change anything he wants.
right.
And I don't know if there is is there a dumb implementation of that?
Do you want me to give you an example?
Sure.
Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna roll a die. If it comes up, rolls die, comes up a 3. A 3, I get to eat all the pizza. So like
Well,
that.
I always
Like, have you ever been in a game and someone was like, well, basically the DM, because Rule 0, it has to be the DM, right? He's like, okay, from now on, like, all laser blasts do 1d4 damage because I'm high on mescaline.
Well, I've never really seen an example of a DM doing stuff like that. I think that
You need to play at my table more often.
the pizza example is something that goes beyond what the idea of Rule 0 is. That would be like a librarian getting to go into your house and steal your books or something. It's like it's outside the area in which the law applies.
Or does Rule 0 mean that can't be confined? That it's outside the realm of meta.
Well, look, the only case I think where Rule 0 can be stupidly applied is when the DM uses it to have inconsistent results in the world. So if he's already done a mechanic in one way, and then suddenly in the next encounter, the exact same situation, he rules a totally different thing because he can, right? But it means that the players no longer know what consistently will happen, right? Like in one fight, he says, well, if you get a natural 1, you run out of shots. And in the next one, he says, well, if you get a natural 1, then, you trip and fall, right? And it means that the players no longer have a consistent world. So I guess that would be the dumbest application in a practical way that I could think of.
Okay, so your answer was basically theoretical, but more or less good. So I'll give you 5 points. So it's like half credit. All right, Joe, wow us.
Oh wait, I have to come up with 3 questions now?
No, just we're on question 2.
Oh,
The
what was the
dumbest
question?
implementation of Rule 0. Now that you know what that is,
Now that I know, what am I supposed to say?
what's the dumbest implementation of Rule 0 that you can think of right now in 3 seconds?
Probably this game.
Well done, Joe.
All right. I'm also going to give you 5 points because I'm not even sure that was a real answer. Okay.
Hang on. Before you proceed to question 3 here,
Yes.
some comments from the peanut gallery here. The dumbest game ever, somebody said, Mr. Triceratops said the cyborg game Gygax made. Yeah, Cyborg Command is a pretty dumb game. That's true. Masters of the
Hey,
Universe.
it's not that bad.
Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I'm not even sure that's an RPG. 4th edition D&D. Well, yeah, it's stupid, but it's not as stupid as some of them. Nobilis. Yeah, Nobilis is a very stupid game. Dumbest Rule 0 examples. Dark Knight of Hibernia says failing forward is the dumbest Rule 0. Well, that's usually not a question of Rule 0. That's usually something that's been put into story games and quasi-story games where they specifically don't have a Rule 0 because they don't want the DM to have power. So it's kind of the opposite of a Rule 0. But failing forward is absolutely moronic, right? The X card, somebody said, well, again, that's something that is not about DM power, but the exact opposite. It's disempowering the DM, but also extremely stupid. I'll grant you that. Anyway, okay, I guess that's it. Go ahead with your 3rd question.
Okay. Dumbest monster. This is an easy one. I hope.
The dumbest monster. Probably the Flumph.
I have a feeling someone would say that. I think it's kind of cool, but I can also see where it's really dumb. Okay. So, all right. That's at least a legit answer. So I'll give you 10 points for that. All right. Hentai Dad, 42069. What's your answer?
I think I'll go with the Nixie.
What the hell is a Nixie?
It's like a mermaid, except it's seaweed from waist down.
It's a nautical pixie, hence a Nixie.
That does sound pretty dumb. So I'll give you a full 10 points for that. Okay, last question. It's because this is the bonus round. What's one thing the new D&D movie and or TV show should include?
I'm ethically opposed to the existence of a D&D movie or a TV show, so I'm not too sure if I've got a good answer for that.
Keep in mind, you get triple the points if you say tentacles or boobs.
I'm going to say racist class.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably a good one. Bikini chainmail. It should have bikini chainmail.
Yes. Okay. So
It probably won't, though. It'll probably have a combat wheelchair.
probably those bastards. Which will segue into our next topic. Okay.
Is that where we're going? Are you guys going to shill?
Yeah. Well, okay. Now that we've gone through it, yay! Don't everybody applaud at once out in listening land.
This is why we don't let you come up with subject topics.
A, how dare you? And B, that was fucking awesome. Show some respect. And everybody out there listening, you guys can vote whether you want to see this type of thing again, or if that should just be a one shot and move on with our lives.
Someday we should do a proper RPG trivia night or something, but not this.
I don't know. I think this is gonna hit. This is gonna be a big hit. It's gonna catch on. People are gonna want this every single time we do our show. So you guys decide.
Some suggestions from the live chat as to stuff that they want to see in the D&D movie or TV show. One of them says Jeremy Irons in a combat wheelchair.
Yes.
Craig Lighton says complicated first edition overbearing. Shadzar says Asian guys in blackface playing drows.
Oh man.
Senior Chang, I presume.
Yeah.
That's
All
a
right.
Community reference. I don't know if you guys watch Community or did watch it. Great show.
Brad Miltonic, by the way, says Pundit hated this, so I want this in every show.
Yes.
All right. So stuff that we're shilling. Job, have you got anything in the works? I'm still working on your Brutal Blades.
I'm still working on Brutal Blades, and everybody out there has a chance to play at the end of March at Ethereal Gary Con 13, 25th to 28th, 2021. Says Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, but that's just the spiritual locus of the con. But it's really just on the internet. Go to garycon.com. I've already got my games up. I'm running like 4 slots, I think. So like 16 hours of Brutal Blades. So if anyone wants to check it out, the tickets are cheap. I can't remember how much they are right now, but they're super cheap. So
Very good.
that's it.
Very good.
That's my shill.
Venger, how about you?
Yeah, I'm still selling hardcovers of Chalt Fuchsia Malaise in my van down by the river. So if anybody wants to help with my future alimony payments, please stop on by Venger's Old School Gaming blog, and you'll eventually run into details on how you can order a book and pay me via PayPal.
Very good. Good stuff. So as for me, well, first of all, I just recently released, you may know, The World of the Last Sun, and it's done very well so far. It's already a copper bestseller, and I think it's getting very close to being a silver bestseller. So if you haven't checked it out yet, World of the Last Sun is my gonzo gaming setting that's full of crazy gonzo gaming goodness and stuff that you can put into any campaign. If you don't want to run it in the world itself, you're bound to find some really good material in there to incorporate into your weird fantasy or gonzo fantasy setting. You can get the soft cover for $29.95 or the hard cover for $39.95. Both of those come with the PDF, or the PDF itself for $12.95. And check it out. It's on DriveThruRPG. I'm pretty sure that if you like weird or gonzo fantasy at all, you're going to enjoy it. Also, Star Adventurer is now an Electrum bestseller, along with the Old School Companion, which is also still an Electrum bestseller. So if you haven't seen either of those, be sure to check them out. And you can get them also on DriveThruRPG. Star Adventurer is just $9.99 in print and PDF. And the Old School Companion is, I don't remember right now. I do not have it up right now. Let me just check it. No, that's not it. I don't think I'm going to find it. Oh, wait, I found it. The Old School Companion, an Electrum bestseller, is $29.95 in softcover and PDF. So that's a 266-page book full of everything you might want to make your campaign more medieval. And you're bound to enjoy that if you like medieval authentic campaigning, or if you just want to add some medieval touches to your D&D or OSR campaign. Just in case you were wondering, the World of the Last Sun is also a big book. It's 278 pages. Star Adventure is small. It's like 30-something pages, but it's just a really compact and from what I've been getting, the praise I've been getting, a very well-designed space opera rule set. So check all of those out and keep checking out the RPG Pundit Presents series. There's 103 issues of that, and there's more coming. There's going to be new issues coming up. And yeah, keep looking for all of that. Oh, also, this week I ran the first of the last playtest round, the first session of the last playtest round for the Invisible College. It's going pretty well. The book is in production. There's some good layout, good artwork going on there. And we assume, well, it's definitely going to come out sometime this year, but I'm still assuming it's going to come out in the first half of this year. The Invisible College, if you're wondering, is an OSR modern rule set for playing in a world of authentic magic and secret societies and weird, crazy stuff. It's one of my playtest players commented to me that it's looking to them like what they always wished Mage the Ascension was like. So I guess that's praise. I never liked Mage the Ascension, but I think the point was that it's like what it ought to be like. So there you go. Be sure to keep your eyes open for that too.
All right. Do you know who did the cover for the World of Last Sun? Looks pretty cool.
I do not. I'd have to ask Spectre Press that. I mean, I'm sure that they told me, and I'm sure that the cover art is credited in the book, but I still haven't got the physical copy of the book. I've only got it on PDF, so I'd have to open it up to check. And yeah, but it's a good cover, isn't it? It's pretty badass. Yeah, I'm quite liking it. A lot of people have said that they think it's a pretty good cover. So yeah, my player said it should have had Bill the Elf on the cover, but given that Bill the Elf has had multiple bodies, Doctor Who style, the question would then be which Bill the Elf, Anyway, that's I guess that's all the shilling for today. So we can move on to our next topic of the night. And the next topic is the Candlekeep book that is coming out for D&D 5th edition. And from what I understand, this book is a collection of adventures, of short adventures. I guess there's like 17 adventures in there, something like that. And obviously the biggest news about it, some of you will remember a while back, some of you have already been mentioning it in the comments, that there was a while ago, somebody made as a source book for, not official wizard source book, but one of those, DM's Guild type source books, a product called the Combat Wheelchair, which I did a video about on my channel. You can check it out. It's called I called it the video, the +1 wheelchair of representation, right? And it was basically to me a tool, had very little to do with actually playing D&D and a lot to do with virtue signaling, right? It was, it's this magic wheelchair that's pretty much indestructible, that can fold up, can float, can do a bunch of stuff. You can use it to fight with. And so you can go through wheelchair accessible dungeons with it. And it costs less than a pony to buy in the game, right? It's available everywhere, of course, because the idea is if somebody is disabled, I guess we're still not at the point where they must play a disabled person in the game, but it suggests that obviously a disabled person would want to play a disabled character in the game, and therefore they must have a wheelchair that makes them badass, right? Like that was the official notion behind it. To me, I think the real point of it was to get likes on Twitter, right? But Wizards of the Coast, being what it is today, has decided to include it as part of the new Candlekeep book. So it's now an official magic item for D&D 5th edition. It's actually in there. And they're also bragging about how their book includes the first ever wheelchair accessible dungeon. Because we all know that, the health and safety codes are now mandating that all dungeons be wheelchair accessible, and evil overlords don't want to get in trouble with health and safety, right? Whereas the British would say elf and safety.
I like that title. I don't know if you did that, Hentai Dad, or if you just found that. The title on the cover that someone wrote, Derp. I saw that. And I was like, that is hilarious.
I ran out of batteries. I had to swap out of. I'm back anyway. Are we talking shit about the combat wheelchair yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I brought it up. And Venture just commented on the image you just put up here with the caption. He liked that quite a lot.
Yeah. So, one of the things that kind of bugs me at this whole wheelchair accessible dungeon is, the amount of privilege it would take your disabled character even have any of this stuff, I mean, like in Game of Thrones, Bran, he's got some kind of wheelchair, right, for a while, or
yeah, he has a medieval wheelchair, which is a chair with wheels that someone has to push, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And you know, it would take like a lord to be able to even do something like that. You know. So.
Well, it should, right? Except that it doesn't, because in point of fact, in terms of what the official stats are, it costs you less than a pony to buy.
Oh, right.
You're better.
Yeah, you guys
off
seeing
buying
the video thing, the video live stream? It's just, I don't know if this is bad.
No, I haven't.
It says an error occurred. Please try again later.
What?
Maybe it's just me seeing that. I don't know.
No, I don't see that. I see the
I don't see it
excellent
either.
connection.
Oh, okay.
That must
All
be
right.
you.
Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
In any case, let me take a look at some comments here first. A lot of people praising my books. Thank you very much to everyone who did that. Somebody said you got to put Boy Boy on the cover of the World of the Last Sun. Yeah, well, that's if I didn't want to sell any of it. Some people are talking about some of the other people who've written up for Candlekeep, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. David Thompson says, combat wheelchair lets you play a disabled character and gain virtue progressive points while not suffering any penalties for having a disability. Craig Lighton says, but can only someone who uses a wheelchair in real life use this wheelchair? Well, that's an interesting point, because I'm waiting for the moment where like you get a party of assholes who just all buy combat wheelchairs because they realize that it's better than having horses or walking, right? And so suddenly there'll be like claims that this is like somehow offensive to the disabled, right? Or sorry, the differently abled. Let's see here. Mr. Triceratops says, heroes are one thing, but you don't want to have to deal with civil rights lawyers. Chad says, my biggest complaint about the combat wheelchair is that it's so unimaginative. Yeah, well, definitely. It is. It's faux virtue signaling, as Dark Knight said.
We talked about the combat wheelchair before, so we are kind of rehashing it. That last time, though, I read it. It was fresh in my mind. And yeah, it was so bad. It's like, why wouldn't everyone just buy a combat wheelchair after this point? And plus the lore of it too was there was a lot of references to Murder Ball, and like they didn't even try to like make it D&D or medieval-y or anything.
No, of course.
Can you imagine if every single character in the party wanted their own combat wheelchair to go dungeon crawling with?
There were some people that were saying, well, you know, you bigots don't understand that there were wheelchairs in the Middle Ages. Yeah, there were. There were chairs that had wheels on them that you needed someone else to push for you. There were not, you know, high-powered combat wheelchairs, you know.
There aren't even high-powered combat wheelchairs.
No one played Murder Ball.
Yeah.
In 2021.
Well, nowadays, there's like sport wheelchairs, right? Like that are actually really great wheelchairs, but that's a product of the modern industrialized and capitalist, I'll add, world, right? Shadzar says, how can these people imagine playing a tabaxi furry but can't imagine having legs?
Yep. Shit.
Let's see, anything else about the cost less than a pony? Yeah, we just brought that up. All right, so besides the combat wheelchair, though, there's a bunch of other stuff that you should know about the Candlekeep book. The main thing is that almost everybody involved in the producing of these adventures, you know, they're all different people who made them. They're all dubious at best, right? So you have the person that made the combat wheelchair, right? But besides them, you have, for example, Daniel Kwan, who was the guy that made a moral panic on Twitter about the Oriental Adventures book and declared that everyone who likes D&D is racist, and, you know, managed to get Wizards to put disclaimers about how basically all their old products are hate speech or something like that, right? So they rewarded this asshole by giving him an adventure in this book, right?
Yeah, a lot of these people have kind of talked shit about, or talk shit to Wizards on Twitter.
That's right. So apparently if you want to get hired by Twitter act like a communist and talk about how horrible D&D is and how horrible Wizards is and how horrible D&D players are. Another example, you got Graham Barber, who was the guy that made the big push to change race in D&D. And then when, the Tasha's book came out that basically eliminated the idea of race as a coherent thing, he was the first one to jump to declare that it just wasn't enough, right? Because it leaves it optional for DMs to change. And instead, what should happen is that it should just force everybody who plays the game to do it that way, right? And then he also demanded that there be sensitivity readers of color added to all of the D&D staff, He's written extensively about decolonizing D&D, and they gave him an adventure. Kiana Shaw, the author of the RPG Safety Toolkit, she spent an awful lot of time on social media talking about how RPGs are all racist. You have someone named Taymor, who is Wizards of the Coast news safety and diversity person, who right up until being hired by Wizards spent an awful lot of time posting stuff about abolishing the police and all cops are bastards and stuff like that. They say they are a progressive Muslim and are very very vocal about their progressive Muslimness, which I'm sure doesn't please a lot of Muslims, but there we are. It certainly pleases a lot of liberals, of course, because liberals want to imagine that all Muslims are progressive Muslims. And then, almost all of the other people that were involved in writing this book are people who have very little background or credit in D&D design or RPG design of any kind. Most of them either have like websites or blogs, are popular posters on social media, or are involved in gaming streams, right? So, people that have guest starred on Critical Role and stuff like that. So this is basically a vanity project for D&D fashionistas and enemies of D&D, rather than being a book made by people who actually like D&D for people that would actually like D&D.
Right. This is the thing I've been going on for a long time, and RPG companies are like casting for roles of authors of adventures rather than, looking for actual writers that are have some kind of merit or work history. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
I do think it's ironic that you had all of these kind of lefty people in the so-called RPG industry in the early 2000s and up to now, who were always, so proud about being the industry pros, and now they've basically, worked themselves out of jobs because of their leftism. Like they can't get hired anymore because they don't know. Wizards doesn't actually want to hire industry professionals. They want to hire, public virtue signalers.
Right. And it's always been, and RPGs pay shit. They're crap.
Yeah. Unless you're a consultant.
All right. Well, but they pay crap and they treat you like crap. They'll rewrite, especially Wizards. They'll just rewrite anything you write and not gonna clue you in or ask you for rewrites or anything. That's just like, oh, yeah, we own this. We're gonna just chop this up, throw it out, and we don't care how badly we screw it up or how we messed up some kind of through line that you put in the adventure or anything.
Yeah. So in the comments, Shadzar says it's $50 for a book of leftist propaganda. Yeah, that's certainly what it looks like it is, for sure. Absolutely. What else have we got here? Dracopol says, police at cons will make sure you must play a wheelchair character if you're in a wheelchair, etc. And if you since you can't possibly defend your own rights, you must be accompanied by a white NPC 2 levels higher than you.
Oh my gosh. I was wondering if Man, I should have called it up again. I don't remember when Wizards has the beginning of 5e player handbook, I think it is, or maybe it's the DMG, where they're talking about building your group and building diversity and stuff. And I don't think they mentioned finding a disabled player to be in your League of Nations campaign. But
that's why eventually Wizards will be forced to put a disclaimer on the 5e books too. This
exactly.
book is hate speech. We're sorry for selling it to you.
Yeah, sorry, this edition is total hate speech.
Yeah.
But now we're coming up with 6th edition, and that will be so progressive and liberal. And
well, the next thing is going to be that clerics aren't going to be able to heal anybody anymore because that's erasure of disabled culture.
And because God is dead.
Well, this brings me to a point about the Candlekeep book. I think it's probably going to be pretty awful, but what we've seen already in other media, and I think this is like a turning point. Tasha's book was mediocre at best, but I think this one's going to be downright awful. But it's still probably going to sell a lot because what you still have is a lot of nerds are by definition completists. People are going to buy the book and then maybe later on get disappointed and realize they're not going to use it for anything, but they're still going to buy it. But it'll mean that in the next little while, right, the next book is going to sell less by default, right? It's kind of like, what you saw happen in things like comics and Star Wars, where the product that was really crap, the turning point into absolute garbage, still managed to sell pretty well, and the left claimed that it was a success. But then right after that, the market tanks because people will stop wanting to get the products. But the downside of that is that that what you're going to get the leftists and Wizards claiming is, oh no, it's not because of the stuff that we're making now. It's just that 5e has run its course, and now we have to make ultra diverse, ultra politically correct 6th edition, right? So that's going to be the next step of this process. We just know it is, right? Like they're going to use the failure that they've generated for 5th edition as an excuse to get rid of 5th edition and replace it with their new edition, which is going to be just abominable, right?
And that's when the rest of the gaming world turns its back on D&D and starts playing Crimson Dragon Slayer D20.
Well, you're half right there. You're half right.
It's created by a disabled.
Hey, better half right than not right at all. I, for one, am going to fight back. I'm going to have 3 races from now on. It can either be a gypsy, an Eskimo, or French. And that's it.
Yeah, I got another take on this because this sounds like a total train wreck of a book, and this is the first Wizards book I've actually wanted to buy in a while. It sounds like pure fucking comedy. Like I collect all kinds of weird. I love collecting weird crap. You got this Reichstar. I don't know if you guys ever seen this, but it's
I asked for Reichstar. I wanted to buy it.
Nazis in space, basically. Yeah. Like
weird off the wall shit. Is it good?
Yeah. No, I haven't played it yet. I want to just because it seems so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's sort of complex. I don't know.
Can you still get it?
I will play one of these days.
Like out of print like 20 years ago.
Yeah. But I don't know. I anytime I'm a sucker for any kind of like weird borderline garbage RPG that I can find at half-price books. No, I don't have the supplement for it. I'm not sure that it ever came out, David Thompson.
Sometime we'll have to play Reichstar on the stream.
Yeah, we should, just because people will just get mad. Whatever. It's been a while since I read it. I think there's something about like all the Jews are dead or something.
Wow.
I think there's something like that, or there's like maybe a couple left in the resistance or something.
Can I just need a clarification here. Is this game, does it presume that the Nazis are bad guys? Like
no, it does. Yeah. They have a whole thing right at the beginning. Yeah, no. You're supposed to, I think they detail the police and stuff, but it's like you're supposed to be resistance fighters, and they
Oh,
they have
I
a whole
see.
thing like, well, we realize this could be very offensive, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're doing this alternate Earth or history or something.
Well, if I can't buy it for myself, and you guys want me to run it for someone out there or a group out there, if I can't find it myself, if someone has a copy, send it to me, and then I will run Reichstar for you.
Well, anyways, getting a little bit back to our topic, I just wanted to summarize by saying that my prediction is this book will still manage to sell moderately well because of inertia. The left will claim that it's a great victory for them. Then their next book or two of fifth edition is going to sell like absolute garbage. It's just going to crash. And then they're going to claim that this is a reason to do sixth edition their way.
With my luck, the very next book will be Dark Sun or something actually cool. And then that will do terribly. And then
they're not going to make anything.
Obviously, nobody cares about that shit. And sixth edition, ta-da!
They're incapable of making anything actually cool. If they redid Dark Sun now, it would look nothing like what it was back in the 90s.
Yeah. If you want to see,
even the 4E one
Dark
was pretty
Sun
shitty.
For the 21st century, for 2020, 2001, or no, 2021, done right, then you got to buy Chalt and Chalt Fusion Lake.
That's not true. The best modern version of it is found in The World of the Last Sun. We have a whole section of it in a region called the Shithole, which is my take on that type of setting.
Yeah, but I rip off Dune as well. So
what was that?
I said, yeah, but I rip off Dune as well. So
do you have Keith Richards as the immortal god king of a lost city?
but I have a dungeon that's basically a living vagina.
Do you have a gang of sloth narco traffickers?
No, but I have giant clown worms.
And while I'm sure you do have random tables, mine are actually coherent and you can use them to make things.
My tables are coherent? My tables are the most coherent.
That is a proven lie. If you
My
posted
tables
that
are
on
huge.
Twitter, if you posted that on Twitter,
coherent.
it would be marked as not factual information.
And I am a stable genius.
I don't know, boys.
Anyways, guys,
don't scare them away like you did Grim Jim.
check out the Shithole in World of the Last Sun.
And check out Not the Shithole in Chalt and Chalt Fuchsia Malaise.
See, the fact that it's not the Shithole already makes it worse.
Ironically,
Anyway, somebody asked, any word on what was done about the Dragonland situation? Oh, that's a good question, Sadwings. From what I understand, there was some kind of a settlement or an agreement, which means that apparently there's likely to be a Dragonlance book coming out. God knows what it's going to look like, right? Like maybe the Weiss and Hickman, because they sued, will get enough creative control that will be the only 5th edition product ever to yet arrive that will be of some sort of quality, you know?
Yeah,
It's
I saw
possible.
Hickman post a picture somewhere where he's grinning like the Cheshire Cats. So I think there's probably pretty good news for that.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, I've never been a big Dragonlance fan myself, but maybe it's the hero we deserve right now.
why don't we sue Wizards for their crap ideas and taking up of progressive, radical leftist ideology? Why don't we just sue them, like the three of us? Class action lawsuit. And our listeners, you guys can join in too.
I think you'd have to find cause. I'm not sure what the cause would be there.
Retardation of the culture?
I don't think that's actionable under U.S. civil law.
Well, Trump knows a good lawyer. We'll ask him.
Does he? Does he? I don't know.
For his sake.
Recent evidence seems to show that's not true.
What about that never mind.
Yeah, let's keep us from getting banned here, guys.
Yeah.
Be very careful what we say at this point. Somebody just commented, I think a wet fart could scare Grim Jim. Well, if there was a risk of COVID involved, undoubtedly. I'm not too sure what that has to do with what we were talking about before, but
Hey, he's got a show with naked ladies, and then we have our show. So I think he's winning right now.
my YouTube actually gets views, so I think I'm winning.
Yeah, but he gets $20. Somebody watches an episode.
Oh well, that's a good little deal there.
Doing something right.
That's literally more than we get.
Speak for yourself.
No, I mean for the show.
Oh, for this show, yeah. Well, this show to me is an act of charity.
Oh, thanks.
I figured that's why Avenger was on
As
it.
your number one beneficiary, I am grateful. Thank you.
Sadwings says the Dragonlance were enjoyable books, RPG Pundit. They were moral enough to keep me from turning into Avenger.
Wow. Hey, degeneracy never looks so good.
All right. So do we have anything else to say about this this topic about Candlekeep?
It's gonna be lame.
I'm
Don't buy
not
it.
going to buy it new, but I'm definitely going to buy it somewhere used when I can. I'm sure people will be dumping it right
Oh
after.
yeah. 6
I'm
months.
sure you'll get a lot of copies
Halfway
going into
supposed
the
to be
used stores. Yeah.
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 So I should. I'll run it with the Word of the Last Sun at the next real Gary Con.
There we go. There we
And
go.
Schultz, right?
And if you like that Reich Star whatever thing, keep in mind World of the Last Sun has Sky Nazis in it. They're bad guys too. You can go fight them in flying ships.
Yeah, well, Schultz has skeever sand pirates that float over the Sikba wasteland.
Once again, you come in second place. Sky
Nope.
Nazis.
Whatever, dude. Some people are tired of being labeled Nazi in the role-playing game.
I'm sick of killing zombies and I'm sick of killing Nazis. Boring.
I got a whole empire full of zombies in World of the Last Sun. They have like this Italian Renaissance culture. Anyway, by the way, if you want a glimpse of the
commentary
type
on
of
COVID or
craziness,
something.
sorry.
Is that a commentary on how hard COVID hit Italy?
No, this was like the zombie empire came up years before COVID. The thing is, this is based, everything in World of the Last Sun is based on a campaign I've been running for 8 years now, every 2 weeks for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
That's thousands of hours of play, right? So it's a very long-term world with a lot of cool stuff in it.
We believe you.
Yeah.
I gotta get back to.
Well, you don't have to believe me. Go to Bill the Elf's YouTube channel, and nowadays we post the audio of our sessions on that channel. So if you want to hear,
I get them on Twitter every update.
yeah, there you go, Bill the Elf, and you can listen to all the wackiness as it's actually being played. It is definitely not like Critical Role. Let me put it that way. You're not getting a fancy produced show there. You're just getting an audio recording of us gaming like a bunch of maniacs.
In the chat room.
All right. So anything else anyone on the chat wants to bring up for us? Oh, George Whittlebach, Lorraine McLarian Hoopy says, when are you going to finally kill Catboy? George, I don't know what to tell you. The thing is, ever since he turned into Boy, Catboy's been avoiding his would-be murderers, but that's probably likely to end pretty soon. And there are people that have plots against him. So we'll see what can happen, Boy is just a slippery bastard. He's proven really, really hard to kill. And he's like, I don't know, level 8 now, I think. So like, he's really a badass thief, right? But I'm going to keep trying. I promise you that.
Well, it's that time. I gotta go.
All right, everyone. So say goodbye to Venger, and remember, if you want Venger to get to stay up later, to be allowed to stay up later, in order to placate his wife, you've got to support us on Patreon. The link is in our description. Send us some Patreon bucks to help Venger eventually be able to stay up past his usual bedtime, and that would be.
So we can afford high class hookers, just like Grim Jim.
Sorry.
And so we can afford hookers, just like high class hookers, just like Grim Jim on his show.
I suspect at least one of us is going to have trouble convincing their wife of that.
That's true, but it's called Inappropriate Characters, so
That's right.
What did she expect?
There we go.
All right. Well, you guys have a good night, and see you next time. And yeah, you guys should all follow us on Twitter, because there's a lot of chat on Twitter. That's probably where you find me the most, besides my blog, Venger's Old School Gaming Blog. Don't forget. And buy my book.
All right. Take care, Venger.
You too.
Unscripted and Unchained in the comments said, Pundit, the data shows that most D&D campaigns end after 5 sessions. Yes, I do know about that. I saw that very recently, and I'm going to be doing a video about that on my channel pretty soon, because I think that explains why there's so many people that don't get what the bigger purpose of RPGs are, or that have never really had. If you've never played a campaign that has gone for a year at least, or 2 years, you actually haven't had a full education in what RPGs are like. So I think it's a very interesting statistic that most people never manage to play a campaign that goes for more than five games.
Yeah, I don't know. 5e player base might have brought that number down. After 2 sessions, everyone's triggered and they're upset by, I don't know, whatever microaggression that routed or them or something.
Shadzar says 5 sessions isn't a campaign; it's a one-shot. Yeah, basically. I think you're right, Job. I think that it's the 5e culture is basically this postmodernist culture. And in that culture, the story, as it were, is not about being in the world and interacting with the campaign world. It's just about presenting your character. And since your character has already got his whole story in the backstory that you've invented for him, the whole game is just you showing who you are, and then you're done, right? So what is the point of playing longer with that? If you play any longer with that, it'll only end up, staining the purity of your character idea, right? Of you showing off your identity through this character.
Right, exactly. Or you might die or get maimed permanently.
Right, which shouldn't happen, right? Because the whole idea is that you're supposed to be perfect just as you are, right? We're living in a world of everyone gets a participation trophy and no one's allowed to actually be better than anyone else. So actually playing the game would end up showing that some people are better than others,
Right, exactly.
So yeah, that's the thing. Dark Knight says, fuck story, make a world and a history. Well, that's exactly the way to do it. You create a campaign world, you create a history for that campaign world, you set up the pieces, and then you put the player characters into that world, and then let it all go and come alive by itself with as little interference from you as possible as the DM. Dracopol says, SJW story games, cosplay with words. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just cosplay with words. Given that, Shadzar says, given that Twitch streamers that D&D is being made for now only know how to write short fanfic, that is why the games are so short, because they don't have to go far to tell their stories. Yeah. And their stories are nothing except a vehicle for showing a particular identity. Like you saw this in comics, right? Like it used to be that a superhero was about what they did, right? And how they were, and sometimes about their origin, right? Like, Batman, his parents were murdered. He had the encounter with bats. He dressed up and then decided to fight for Gotham City to kind of, overcome the death of his parents, right? And then he gets into these struggles with these insane people in Gotham, right? But like the modern superhero of the SJW is like, well, she's a teenage Muslim bisexual. That's the story. That's the plot of every episode, because that's all that matters for this character, right? Is their identity. So every issue has to be about their identity. And you see this with TV characters. You see this all over the place, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I follow some of those Comicsgate guys. I don't really read comics anymore, but I find their outrage soothing. I used to listen to while washing the dishes.
There basically isn't a comic industry anymore. It's completely destroyed, right? Like there's very soon there will be no mainstream comics being made. There'll still always be indie designers that'll make their own comics, and who knows, maybe someday, many years from now, some of those will hit it really big the way that Marvel or DC did, and you'll get entire universes, and you'll get, some of the a return to sanity in comics. But that's not going to happen for a long time. And I think the future in role-playing games is, unless something happens to change the culture around or to change the environment, which doesn't look like it's happening, you're going to have a sixth edition of D&D that is going to be filled with SJW material, which will fail catastrophically. Probably D&D will stop existing as an active RPG product. It'll be kept by Hasbro just as legacy stuff, and then what will be remaining of the RPG hobby is going to be independent designers, right? But in our case, that's not so bad necessarily. If we manage to keep producing stuff and can reach people with it, then you might end up getting, a 1,000 schools of thought blossoming from that.
Yeah, that one guy, Comics Pro Secrets, Ethan Van Sciver. I've listened to him for like a few years, like 2 years. He's been saying like comic industry is going to implode. All of you are going to be out of a job. You're making fun of all the people that will maybe one day buy your comics, and for Twitter points or woke points or whatnot. And like, it's funny, all that stuff's coming true now. And he's like, told you so. Or like, I don't know if you heard, like DC Comics is like, I don't know, they're not going to make any comics anymore soon.
Yeah, he was saying that like 5 years ago. And back then, a lot of people were thinking, oh no, this is just crazy talk, right? And it's absolutely come to pass, right? But it was obvious even within a year or two of when he started talking about, like, him and other people like Diversity in Comics, when they started saying this, you began to see over the next couple of years that how quickly sales were collapsing. So it became very clear that they were absolutely right, and it's now something that is predictable in every other industry, right? Like you see it in all mainstream media, right? You see what the SJWs have done to Star Wars, to Star Trek, to Doctor Who, all of those huge franchises that have been run into the freaking ground because of these guys.
Yeah, that's one thing I've thought about for a while, and I've never really come up with an answer for it. But it's like, I was trying to make an argument that we're living in a post-meritocracy. So like American, I don't know, society, corporations, government, everything, we reached the point where we have so much abundance that these like silly ideas that are counterproductive to like productivity have like come to the forefront. And in some cases, like, you're actually going to see the effects of those at some point. Like, we're seeing these in the comic industry. But like, I interviewed at Valve Software, they have Steam, and they made a bunch of different video games. But they're like a perfect example of like, they have so much revenue that comes in through Steam that I don't think in that company they have a meritocracy anymore. They have like a bunch of competing people that are competing over things that have nothing to do with producing content. That's why we don't have Left 4 Dead, what is it, 3, you know, and Half-Life can sit in production for like 12 years because they don't actually have to produce anything anymore. But I don't know. It's, you know, like the Googles of the world have the same kind of thing where they can do all this like diversity hiring and like hire people like as a role, like an actor to play the position of a I don't know, a programmer. But they have so much money they can hire craploads of people, and I mean, is it going to catch up to them one day? I don't know.
I think undoubtedly it's going to catch up to them. I mean, progressive leftism is the farthest thing from a revolutionary movement. It's actually the vanity product of an incredibly prosperous society, a society that's so prosperous it can afford to ignore reality.
Right.
But the problem is that it inevitably ends up having a long-term cost, right? Like it's a very, very expensive, useless hobby. It's like the equivalent. It's like, you know, that episode of The Simpsons where there's some guy, I think it was like Bleeding Gums Murphy had an addiction to collecting and breaking Fabergé eggs, you know, like it's that, right? It's it's an enormous expense for no benefit that all it does is destroy something, right? And inevitably there's going to be an enormous cost, not just to those businesses, but to all of our culture and eventually to our civilization as a whole, right? So it's going to be, the crash is going to be enormous. And if we're lucky, it'll happen in a way that we can recover from it and kind of go into a mass cultural version of, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous for leftism, right? Where we won't ever, you know, we'll be immunized against returning to that stupidity, right? But in the worst case scenario, what'll happen is that we'll just all collapse and go back down to a level of civilization that can no longer afford that kind of vanity product of progressive leftism. And ironically, the progressive leftists are going to be responsible for the creating of a society where they'll find out that all of a sudden, you know, they don't have the comfort of being able to act that way without having terrible, terrible things happen to them.
Oh. Not hope that happens / hope that happens.
No, I mean, I certainly hope that what happens is that we come to our senses before we hit rock bottom in that way, you know.
I hope so too.
The alternative isn't good for anyone. We end up in a much more barbaric world.
Well, I mean, what people just need to talk things out, like do shows like this, and like actually speak their mind and not be too scared to like interact and, I don't know, open themselves up to be attacked by these kind of herpes.
Well, that's the thing. People have to keep, even now, people have to keep being brave enough to stand up and say no to this nonsense, right? Because if you don't, then that is basically enabling the ongoing path towards what will eventually be a collapse into barbarism, right? So if you don't want your world to be much, much worse for your children than the world that you had, you have to stand up and say something. Some interesting comment in the chat. We had one person here say, hit them in the wallet, boys. And somebody else said, you can't really hit them in the wallet because they've been hijacked by an ideological virus. Well, yeah, that's kind of true, actually. You know, boycotting a product is not in and of itself going to affect the people actually pushing for the virtue signal. It might still have an effect on the people who those virtue signalers are convincing and tricking into giving them money. It might, but it doesn't matter to them in the real immediate sense, right? Like they don't actually care. You can see this with Star Wars, right? Where they, their plan with something like, you know, this High Republic thing that they've been doing for Star Wars, that now all the people behind High Republic are super pissed off at The Mandalorian for being so successful, because The Mandalorian is a product made by people who actually like Star Wars and made for people who actually like Star Wars. And so it's making them look really, really bad, because they know their sales are going to be just absolute garbage because nobody wants what they're making. So their response to that is to try to get rid of The Mandalorian, because they don't care about having a big successful Star Wars that they're running. They want Star Wars to crash so that then what they make will look like it's successful in that new level of a market, right? It's the same thing with, with comics. They wanted to end up having comics only selling 2,000 copies each, because then nobody can tell them that their product is a garbage product that doesn't sell, right? Because no products in that market sell anymore. But there is some hope that corporations might come to their senses at some point. I mean, in theory, historically, we were always able to trust one thing. I never liked corporations. I'm not a pro-corporation type capitalist. I'm an Adam Smith type capitalist. I think that corporate personhood and the power of corporations warps and distorts capitalism. But I did used to know that the one thing you could rely on corporations, that they would always do what made them money. And now that's not true anymore. Now a bunch of them have been so infiltrated by communists that they're willing to do stuff that will cost them literally billions of dollars in order to satisfy the communists that are in their own camp, right? But I don't know. I don't think that can last very long. At least I hope it doesn't. Anyways, the reason not to buy their products isn't to make some kind of boycotting statement. It's because you don't want to buy products from people who hate you, products that are going to be garbage, and products that shit all over what you love, right? Buy products from people that don't hate you. Buy products that are actually good and useful, right? So instead of buying Candlekeep, buy, Lion and Dragon, which is an actually good product.
Yeah, I mean, I would even say beyond 5e or WotC, don't buy products from most of the larger RPG publishers. I mean, they're almost universally trash. They all they have that same business model, which is they try to hook in like the autistic members of their community and just sell them piles of words, and then they pay crap to RPG designers, and they don't care about the content of the books really. They just care about the word count, and there's a huge pool of people that want to be exploited because they want to get their name in the next Pathfinder book or Home of Beasts or whatever crap Global Press is peddling. I remember at Gen Con like 2009 or something, Wolfgang, what the hell's his name? Wolfgang Bauer. He runs that Cobalt Press. He was bragging that they don't pay less than a penny a word to their writers, and I was just like, how can you actually say that out loud? Like, so ridiculous. That was something to be proud of.
Yeah, well, these are people that would rather be able to have the bragging right of claiming that they're part of a big industry rather than actually, like, it's just pathetic, right? Like, they might as well be the janitor or the coffee guy, both of whom will probably earn more than they do,
Yeah.
But the place to be is to be your own designer. The only thing is that's a meritocracy. There's no way you can be your own designer and make garbage games and do well,
All right, we got any comments in the chat room here?
The least talented people are the people who are working for the big companies. That's always the case. If you have talent, you'd be doing things on your own.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't always used to be that way, but
no. And before the internet, you had to work for a big company, right, to be able to. I mean, unless you had a lot of seed money to start your own company, but nowadays it's easy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's always been easy to get into RPGs. That's why I like all this stuff where people are like, oh, we want to, make RPGs accessible to designers of color or disability or whatever they're saying is like creating for RPGs has never been expensive. I mean, you can steal some dice out of a board game around the house and get some graph paper and a pencil, and you're an RPG designer. You might not be able to make a good game, but that's 100% on you. Like just your ability. There's not some, cabal of gatekeepers that are like making it so you can't make a game.
Absolutely. Somebody on the chat said the least talented people are the ones running the big companies. I don't think so, because at least, to actually be running a company, you have to have at least some business skill. You don't have to necessarily be a good designer, mind you. So if by talent you meant design talent, yeah, maybe, but. All right, so I see the chat has devolved into abject nonsense at this point.
I'm looking for some questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any other topic you wanted us to bring up before we close, otherwise we're gonna bring this live stream to an end. Now that people are just doing, speaking of cultural devolution, we've got people on the chat doing a bunch of references to Life of Brian and stuff like that. So. All righty then. I guess that's it for today. Judd Goswick says the gatekeep myth is the most destructive idea to hit the hobby. Every gamer has always wanted more gamers to play with. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I can't think of a moment where I didn't want everybody to game. In theory, everybody who wanted to game, right? Like there's and I think almost every gamer I know was the same way, right? And usually the very, very few people who weren't like that were people that other gamers didn't want to game with anyways,
Right. I really think that RPGs could save Western civilization. And people just need to like interact face to face with other people and like deal with them as another human, not as like a punching bag on Twitter or something. Most people that are dicks to people on the internet, if you get them in a room, they're not going to be, act that way. So I think RPGs could really save the world. Really, I wish everybody played them.
Yeah, very true, very true. And well, the good thing about RPGs is that unlike video games, if civilization collapses, there'll still be people playing RPGs. Vesuvius asks, what's the next big thing, Pundit? Any thoughts to a generic system? Well, I don't know for sure what the next big thing will be, of course, but I think that the OSR is something that's very much here to stay. It'll keep on evolving in different ways. My games are increasingly making more variation on the OSR rule set, but are still very much OSR. Invisible College is going to have some interesting new mechanical elements to it, but it's still very recognizably OSR. So as far as what's the next big thing for me, I intend to keep making OSR products for the foreseeable future and working with that because it's the rule set that most people are immediately able to latch onto, to connect to. Judd Goswick asked, did I miss a recap on Invisible College and Brutal Blades? Yeah, you did. We talked about both of those. So later on, watch the video, the parts of the video that you missed, and you'll hear what's going on with them. Good news on both fronts.
It's near the beginning of the show.
Shadzar says, Job, if all these SJWs were put into rooms to play with each other, they would kill each other with microaggressions. Yeah, possibly, yes. But that's just them. That's how they are.
Right. Well, oh God, there's another battery exhausted. The sign.
Vesuvius says, is it necessarily true that RPGs based on Western myth are necessarily conservative in nature? They incorporate hierarchies inextricably. I don't think you need to use the word Western there. All RPGs based on myth are going to be incorporating the standard archetypal elements of myth in them. Like, for example, Arrows of Indra is not based on Western myth, it's based on Indian myth, but it certainly has that same element of archetypes of the mythic formula, which is it's the fundamental human story. So, I don't think that makes them conservative. That just makes them a normal part of human culture. But nowadays, normal human culture is seen by a certain group of people as being like evil white supremacy or something like that, right? So that's the only sense in which they're conservative as such. They're just, they're the archetype of the human experience. All right. Anyway, some more questions for me. I think I'll have to bring those up later someday when I do another live stream of my own, probably when we hit 4,000 subscribers on my channel. Yeah, thank you to everybody for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and share this video anywhere you like, anywhere you think that somebody will find this interesting or will get pissed off about it. Be sure to support us on Patreon if you want Venture to stay up later, or even if you don't, because we could use the money too. So if you'd care to, and check out all of our products. Be sure to check out World of the Last Sun, that is doing very well. It's everybody who's bought it so far has had very positive things to say about it, and all the rest of my other games. And check out, consider signing up for Job's Brutal Blades game at the next convention.
Yep, GaryCon.com. Get signed up now. There's still slots left in my games.
There
I hope
you
to
go.
see some of our listeners out there.
Yeah, excellent. And our next episode, barring unexpected developments, should be on the 14th of February, I believe. Oh, wait, that's Valentine's Day, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's a big no-no for us married guys.
Yeah, it would normally be on the 14th. We might have to move that to the 28th, I guess. I don't know.
All right, we'll talk about it.
All right, but anyways, we'll be back in 4 to 6 weeks, guys.
All right, thanks everybody.
Yeah, take care. Thank you all very much for watching.